Hey y'all, so after my last batch of Monster High chibis, I decided I want to make some for the Gen 3 designs, so that's this video. But the thing about these designs is that they're kinda inconsistent. Between the movie, TV show, and dolls, the designs can vary wildly. Some characters are pretty consistent, others are really fucking different, and plus there's some cool concept designs that I think would be neat to incorporate. So basically, I'm just gonna pick and choose what I think looks best and explain some decisions. Like with my previous set, Frankie's up first, and with a lot of my projects, I have at least one failed attempt at something. This is my first attempt at Frankie. I don't think it was terrible, but it's definitely not good. The biggest problem is with the posing. They just felt very static, and no matter how much I readjusted the base, it was just flawed. So I just did a complete reboot and retried. My second attempt felt more lively, and I think it shows off their personality a bit more. It also kind of resembles the pose I did for Gen 1's Frankie, which I think is pretty neat. Design-wise, Gen 3 stays pretty consistent with Frankie's design, minus the live-action movie, but that goes for like every character. I mostly stuck with doll Frankie's design, clothing-wise, since I think it made for the best design. The blue trim on the jacket works better than the cartoon slime green, but the shoes are a mess in both. I had originally thought about just scrapping the doll's shoes for the boots that they wear in the live action, but I decided that maybe if I color match the pinks in Frankie's design, it would allow for some cohesion. In retrospect, maybe the cartoon's yellow-green shoes could have matched the earrings, but they're such a minor design element that I don't care enough. The hair is probably the only other notable thing. They have their cartoon's half-shaved hairstyle, since it was just frankly a more interesting hairstyle than the doll's version. This kind of becomes a recurring trend. The hair clips are still in the same place as the doll though, since I didn't know how to not awkwardly place them on the back of their shaved head and within somewhat full view. But the rest of Frankie came along pretty easily. The only thing I wish is that I could have put more chains on Frankie. I think the doll chains have some really neat detail, but I didn't want the waist area to become too crowded. And there we go. Clawdeen's video is the longest, but her design really didn't give me too much trouble. She's pretty consistent across the live action, cartoon, and doll. There's minor differences like the specific style of shoes, the belt shape, or like the necklace / choker she wears, but I mostly just stuck with the visually interesting ones. Clawdeen has this really cool fur coat in the live action movie. I think her doll also has it as an accessory. I originally wanted to see if I could have her wear it, but as you can see, that didn't happen. Listen, having a full fur coat is fucking baller, but I don't think it would have come off as interesting in a simplistic style with no shading, especially if it were one color. I think it would have also covered up a lot of Clawdeen's outfit, especially with the pose I have her in. And I'm a chump who doesn't even know how to begin shading fur. That's just gonna be a battle for another day. The biggest trouble I had with Clawdeen was figuring out how to draw her hair. I'll fully admit that I'm not very good or know that much about drawing curly or coiled hair unless it's meant to be one massive anime ringlet. I wanted to place their hair around 3B, 3C maybe. I'm not sure about the hair chart very much. Tangent. I'm a bit disappointed with how the cartoon seems to be unable to handle having tighter, curlier hair. It's pretty explicit if you look at some 2D art for Clawdeen, and Howleen and compare it to the renders they have. Either way, back to my problems. Yeah, I don't have a long experience with drawing afro-textured hair. I try my best to block out the shape, and with help from Vegala or by Vegala. Either way, their brushes, I love them so much. It really helped me get a more accurate hair texture. My drawing isn't perfect, and I still have a lot to learn, but you know, baby steps. Overall, I'm really proud of how Clawdeen's chibi turned out, but the more I look at it, the more it just kind of looks like the official 3D renders pose, just cheapified. As you can see, my original pose for Draculaura was that she was going to be holding her hat and tilting it with her hand, sort of madame thing going on. But the thing is, when you have bobblehead chibis, the sizing and limb rotation become limited and detrimental depending on how you place them. So after giving it a good try multiple times and mulling over it, I just decided to do a simpler pose and just move the hand to the side. Oh well, I'll just put it as another defeat on the chalkboard. Most of her design is based on her doll's look, except for the hat. I needed to draw her wide-brim hat. It is literally the best part of her new design. Fight me. It is so fucking tragic that her doll doesn't have the hat. Like, look how much better she looks in the prototype artwork. Okay, rant over. Again, the doll's design was the main base, but I never realized how odd it was. She has this sheer undershirt that extends like to her pants level, but it's never really clear if the top is like a corset or just a sleeveless top. The artwork from Anna Kadish has it as a collared shirt, but the cartoon portrays it as more of a bodice thing. I decided to render it as a shirt piece because I didn't want to mess with a sheer fabric as the collar and figuring how to layer it. The cartoon also gives this fabric a polka dot pattern, which frankly is kind of ugly. I slapped a light rose pattern and I called it good. I'm still waffling between the hair strand colors and if I should do them. I'm just kind of used to drawing these extra hair strands for multicolored hair, but with Draculaura's hair being two-tone blocks, it doesn't lend itself to that. I'm still mulling it over. Maybe the release picture will be different. This might be a hot take to the Monster High Gen 1 loyalists, but I fucking love Lagoona's Gen 3 design. Listen, I'm a pink obsessed person, so if you give me a cute pink Lagoona, I will gladly munch. It also helps that I was never particularly attached to Gen 1 Lagoona. To the actual drawing, her pose was deliberately chosen to sort of resemble Gen 1 Lagoona's chibi, but with a scarier vibe. One of my favorite things about new Lagoona is her rows of sharp teeth, and I really wanted to put that on display without losing too much cuteness. I'm not sure if I succeeded. You can see that I tried a few variations of her smile and like how I should portray that, and I settled on something, but I'm not sure if it was a good one. I basically just replicated the doll's design again since it was the superior version, in my opinion. This means I don't have much to say about why I chose X or Y, because all of it was basically the doll's version. The cartoon gives her this weird pastel gradient, some shorts and fishnets, but I think the color placement is kind of weird. There's a bunch of color on the top half of Lagoona because of her hair, so the gradient on her torso feels like a bit much. The tie-dye shorts feels like a much better color placement, and they also give me some funky, fresh athleisure vibes. I think Lagoona might be the only character whose hair texture kind of varies between doll and cartoon. The cartoon gives her straight hair, but I decided to go with giving her a curled ringlet sort of look, sort of like her doll's wavy hair. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Lagoona. When I was talking about the designs varying between medias in the beginning, a large portion of that was specifically targeted towards Cleo. Here's Cleo's cartoon version, and here's her doll version. How many things actually stayed the same? I honestly think it's just the face, the hair, and the headpiece. I'm curious as to why Cleo underwent such a massive design overhaul compared to every other character. That being said, between the two, I'm mostly stuck with the doll's version again. I think it's a more visually interesting look for Cleo, but also it adds some variety in this lineup. Before this, Frankie was the only other character not wearing pants, but I did steal the top section from the cartoon. I've mentioned before that I don't like just adding printed mummy fabric to Cleo. I think it's pretty lazy. I think giving Cleo a ton of bangles and bracelet is just a much more creative way to show, one, she's rich, and two, she's kinda wrapped up like a mummy. Also, she has this really complicated necklace in the doll version, and I didn't want to draw that, so we're going with the cartoons version. Like with the Gen 1 chibis, Cleo's came a long while after I was done with Lagoona, and the next two after Cleo was pretty quickly. Time is a circle. Part of it was because life got a bit hectic, and second, despite choosing the battle, I really did not want to work on Cleo's complicated pattern for her dress. It's not 100% like the doll, but I wasn't going to sit on my desk to analyze the pattern of a compressed JPEG image of a doll to look good enough. With these last two, there isn't much for me to pick and choose design-wise. Ghoulia and Abbey have pretty much the same design across all three versions. The biggest change with Ghoulia is with her hair. The doll in live action give Ghoulia some basic, straight blue hair, and that's so fucking boring to me, especially compared to every other character I've drawn so far. Her cartoon version at least gives her some variety and gives her pigtails, but even then it's still pretty boring, but like, what are you gonna do? Like, maybe they could have given her some two-tone blue hair like her original, just for some variation, but I don't design her. Keeping in line with this, Ghoulia's outfit is also really boring. Minus the big jacket, it's mostly just single colors with little to no designs or patterns on them. I don't know, I wish they could have layered Ghoulia up some more. I don't know. There's clear room in her jacket for more layers, but this means that there's basically nothing for me to talk about with Ghoulia. So, enjoy! I'll cut straight to the chase. Abbey's design is almost solely based on this one Abbey concept art, which isn't too different from her actual design. It's mostly the same between every version, but this concept art gives Abbey these really cool and funky pants. They're so fucking impractical, but I love them so much. I've seen some people describe Abbey's fashion this generation as Y2K inspired, but I'm not sure what Y2K fashion looks like, so sure, for all I know. Figuring out how to layer everything with the best layer effect was a bitch and a half, but I got through it, kind of. Everything else came out pretty simple. I decided to give her buns rather than the horns she has in her doll version, since they were larger and gave a more interesting silhouette. It's not like I have a thing towards buns or anything. But I like to think her horns are just wrapped up under her buns. That's all I really have to say about Abbey's design since I didn't change anything. But I do have one more thing to show y'all. Throughout this whole drawing process, I became a very frequent visitor to the Monster High wiki. And this is mostly to look for like artwork in the gallery and like just sort of read up on their personalities. But on one of these hunts, I found this wild ass edit, and I will read it verbatim. Abbey also hates Draculaura and said to Frankie, "I wish I could go full Jeffrey Dahmer on that stupid vegan." To which Frankie responds with, "I wanna kill my left toenails." What the fuck? So this is the end of the video. It was really fun to see how the two Monster High generations has changed. I'm personally very much in favor of the new designs. They suit my fashion style better, but I don't think they feel very OG Monster High, which they're not. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm slowly getting the hang of how I want to do these. I have some ideas for the next video, but I'll be on the struggle bus till then. See y'all!